Me 35, head of people and culture at a warehouse software company. Marketing says, we power global logistics with predictive intelligence. Reality says we sell dashboards to exhausted managers who answer emails in bed. Everyone smiles at HR because everyone eventually needs something from HR. Nobody trusts HR because HR is consequences delivered in friendly punctuation. I understood the distrust because I had personally delivered many consequences. With polished warmth, whole personal brand was equity first and aggressively curated. LinkedIn bio talked about building fair workplaces for marginalized genders, with sparkle emoji at the end like a signature threat. I did podcast clips, panel talks, internal workshops, endless sticky note photos. People called me culture queen, both as compliment and subtle warning. I started at 24 as junior recruiter, making too little money and way too much hope. Spent years watching male executives talk over women like it was part of the HV. Heard. Not leadership material used against women who weren't loud enough. Heard strong presence used for men who weren't restrained enough. Watched culture fit. Become velvet glove for blunt bias. Swore I'd reverse all of it the second I had real power. Then we raised a big round. Investors arrived, founder upgraded his wardrobe and vocabulary. At same speed, suddenly everything had operational cadence and strategic velocity. He upgraded me to new title glass, office plants, bigger meetings, head of people and culture, which is HR with longer syllables and more guilt. Baked in, I hired 2 coordinators, cleaned up. Leveling docs, launched a values. Refresh started getting invited into executive meetings, where they pretended my voice actually carried equal weight inside my own head. I built a secret rule and called it corrective justice. If 2 candidates were equal, the woman got the offer. If the woman was slightly weaker, she still got the offer because potential mattered more than privilege. I framed it as balancing a tilted scale, quoted webinars, and EI decks like scripture, because scripture feels cleaner than uncertainty. Hiring pipeline became my battlefield. Male names blurred together, female names became stories I wanted to save. If a woman hit 60% of requirements, I wrote high upside with confidence. If a man hit 90%, I wrote possible culture mismatch in soft gray language. My team didn't challenge me, because challenging HR is just career self-harm. With Calendar Invite's founder, didn't challenge me, because he outsourced moral decisions to my conscience. Then sales started bleeding and numbers began asking questions. No workshop could soften. Enterprise deals slipped, pilots stalled, procurement dragged, pipeline went thin, Slack filled with any updates. Client went dark, legal has concerns. Founder smiled through all hands, but his jaw looked like it was clenching. Equity itself. Investors asked where revenue curve went, like it had committed a felony, burn, high runway, shrinking optimism, becoming expensive. Hobby. We needed a sales director who could close enterprise contracts in under 2 quarters. We'd already interviewed 4 women, including 1 internal candidate, all of them promising, none of them ready. I kept saying we could grow them, because growth is what our product sold. Anyway, founder kept saying growth doesn't cover payroll next month. Monday morning comes final interview for sales director on calendar. Assistant pings me that my 11 is here. I reopen the resume, already hoping it will magically become less inconvenient. Name says Adrian Kovac. 40 logistics SaaS, 12 years. Enterprise sales. Led regional team, closed 14.8 million ARR last. Ear numbers are so clean, they feel rude. I resent him before he even walks in, because I know exactly what rooms do for men like that. I see him through the glass, waiting calmly, navy suit, simple laptop, bag, notebook, no peacocking, no cologne, cloud, no alpha theatrics. Stands when I walk in, handshake firm, but normal. Which somehow annoys me more than arrogance would've. I start with my standard benevolent judge voice. Tell me about yourself. Why our company? What excites you about our mission? He starts talking about logistics, pain points, like he actually understands the business beyond deck language. References seeing our product at a conference, says we are under-leveraged in the market, casually offers 3 repositioning ideas, without sounding like he's pitching some fantasy TED talk. My brain immediately starts hunting for flaw. Of course, he sees opportunity everywhere. Men always sound so relaxed when they assume they belong. I imagine him rebuilding sales into a little boy kingdom and calling it meritocracy. So, I start asking behavioral questions shaped like bear traps. Give me conflict. Tell me about coaching. Tell me about difficult leadership. Tell me about hiring. He doesn't brag about crushing people under quota targets, talks about predictable pipeline mechanics, talks about coaching quiet performers. Instead of rewarding only the loudest reps, talks about not overpromising roadmap. Features mentions promoting women into senior roles and actually tracking pay equity. All of it too smooth. My suspicion gets louder because I need him to be a villain for the story. To hold, I ask about conflicts with executives, hoping for a temper reveal. He says his last company pushed discounts and fake roadmap promises. He refused got sidelined left because long-term trust mattered more than fake quarterly wins. Even his moral backbone arrives in well-structured sentences. Interview ends, he thanks me, doesn't oversell, doesn't beg, just says, if we're not a fit, he still respects the product, then leaves, and the calm he leaves behind is somehow worse than swagger. Because now my rational brain starts arguing with the ideology. Rational brain says he is the best candidate in the process by a mile. Ideological brain says hiring him makes every symbolic win. I built feel cosmetic. If sales becomes male-led again, then maybe all my culture work was just office wallpaper. I walk back to my office and open candidate tracker, like it's confession booth. Top external candidate, says Adrian, in huge invisible letters. Scorecard basically screaming hire him. Then I scroll down to the internal candidate Nadia Petrenko. 29 started as SDR, worked up to AE, smart, hardworking, respectful, never led a team, never owned, enterprise region, never handled a board. But she fit the story perfectly. Promote from within, break ceiling, grow women leaders instead of buying ready-made men. Narratives were my native language and hers felt beautiful. Founder pings me, asks if Adrian can stabilize pipeline quickly. Irritation spikes, because stabilize sounds suspiciously like save, and I hated savior stories when men got cast in them. I type back that he's strong but culture fit, feels questionable, leadership style seems traditional, sentence not entirely true and not entirely false. Perfect HR weapon, soft enough to survive. Scrutiny founder replies, if I think Nadia can grow into it, he'll take the risk. Then adds the line that should have stopped me cold. But we need results within 2 quarters. Investors are tense instead of slowing down. I call him because typed manipulation suddenly feels too small for what I want. Tell him, if we wait for fully polished male leaders, women never get seats. He sighs like he is watching. Runway shrink behind. My word says, numbers don't care about politics. I tell him it isn't politics. It's principle long silence. Then he says, he trusts me to make the call. I hang up feeling righteous and powerful all at once. Email, recruiting, we're not moving forward with Adrian values, alignment, concerns. Mark him rejected. The word looks tiny compared to what it will end up costing 5 minutes. Later, I bring Nadia into my office. She comes in, clutching notebook like it might save her. I offer her the role, face resets. Like somebody rebooted her from the inside. Eyes widen, hands start shaking, asks if I'm serious. I say nobody is ever fully ready and we will build support around her. She tears up, says she'll work non-stop, says she won't let me down. In that moment, I feel like I corrected 10 years of women being passed over in rooms just like mine. Tell myself, this is justice, done inside a spreadsheet. 3 months later, justice starts missing targets, pipeline, thin deals, stretching procurement cycles, widening like cracks in a wall. Nadia is trying hard enough to injure herself. Shadows founder on calls, memorizes playbooks, takes notes. Like final exams are watching, jumps into every meeting, but weight of the role shows in her shoulders. Sales team starts wearing forced optimism, like cheap makeup. I walk past pods and hear laughter that sounds like coping mechanism. Board meetings get sharper. ARR, flat acquisition, cost up investor questions. Now have edges. Founder looks older every week, like stress is subscription. Service, one day he slacks me, can we talk? Sales leadership, just us. I go to his office already smelling where this is headed. He says we may need a VP above. Nadia, somebody more experienced. He never says Adrian's name, doesn't need to. The whole room says it for him. I snap immediately say. So, the minute a woman struggles, we parachute in a man to fix it. He rubs temples and says, it is not about gender. It's about runway. I tell him it becomes gender, when experience only counts if a man has it. He tells me investors trust numbers, and numbers currently hate us. Meeting ends, unresolved, and unresolved starts infecting everything 6 months after Nadia's promotion. Rumors start about a new competitor boutique firm, quietly winning analytics pilots in our exact niche. Name keeps coming up in stand-ups, followed by awkward silences. Then one Tuesday morning, I see LinkedIn post and my stomach drops. Adrian smiling, announcing he joined the competitor as Chief Revenue Officer, same calm energy now wrapped in victory. Sales, Slack lights up immediately, people remembering him, people joking, people connecting dots out loud. I tell myself he could still fail, because I need him to fail emotionally. He doesn't competent people, usually don't. Next quarter, 3 enterprise prospects we'd nurtured for a year, all choose the competitor. Account managers keep saying, clients liked us, but the competitors seemed more prepared. I ask what more prepared means, and they forward a leaked RFP response reading. It feels like watching somebody perform surgery on our weaknesses. Every pain point addressed, every rollout. Risk named, clear owners, realistic timelines, contingency paths, executive summary. Casually references Adrian's 12 years in logistics. SaaS, I want to throw my laptop. But exhaustion beats drama board meeting. After that is basically organized. Humiliation. One investor with perfect haircut says we lost 2.8 million ARR to competitor. Then calmly adds that competitor is led by a candidate. I rejected for culture fit. Nobody needs to say my name. Founder looks at me in that horrible mixed way where apology and accusation occupy same face. I say we made a values-based decision. It sounds like cardboard. Even as it leaves my mouth, investor asks whether our values include remaining solvent. Room laughs softly the way rich people laugh when blood reaches the water. Afterward, I get coffee with Nina from product. Closest thing I had to an ally who still told the truth. I vent about patriarchy. Optics men weaponizing competence. Nina just stirs her latte and says, maybe we should have hired the best fit. I hear betrayal because my ego is still wearing a moral costume. Ask her if she really thinks Adrian over Nadia was the right call. She says she thinks whoever could deliver fastest should have gotten it. I change the subject because losing argument feels too much like losing control. LinkedIn becomes horror feed, partnership, announcements, smiling, client photos, rollout wins. Every post tags Adrian. Every tag feels like receipt inside our company. Slack becomes panic room with emoji, bandages sales, complaining customer success, warning about churn finance, whispering about headcount, month 10 after Nadia's promotion, founder calls, meeting with investors, and me room feels heavier than furniture should allow. Investor says burn must be cut, which means layoffs, which means HR gets to become executioner. Again tells me to work with founder on restructuring because I'm head of people. Irony tastes metallic. Next 2 weeks disappear into spreadsheets where names become rows and rows become lives. I learn which teams are expensive, which roles are sacred, which departments are decorative sales, underperforming, marketing, bloated people, and culture, non-essential. I literally see my own department highlighted, and it feels like spreadsheet is winking at me. Founder tries to shield me at first. But investors keep pushing, protection costs, runway, and runway is now religion, one night around 2 a.m. I'm alone in office lit by monitor glow, scrolling old candidate reports, and I stop on Adrian's file like it's a body-rejected culture, fit concerns, leadership style may disrupt collaboration. My own words stare back at me, and finally shame. Stops waiting politely outside. I reread founder's old note. If Marina is unsure, I'll trust her judgment. That line hurts more than investor sarcasm, because he trusted me, and I spent that trust like monopoly money. Layoff day arrives, and I become the exact voice I always claimed to resist. Bring people into little room, say market conditions, say restructuring, say this is not performance related. Some cry, some go silent, some nod, like they'd already rehearsed, being disposable. I keep my voice steady, like trained nurse delivering bad scans. After last meeting, founder asks me to stay. His face looks carved out, says bored, wants leaner structure, says they can outsource, HR, keep recruiting external fold culture into operations there. It is my own layoff speech coming back to me with different pronouns. I ask if it's his decision or theirs. He says, does it matter? Brutal, because it's honest. Severance package comes through lawyer, says it's fair that almost hurts worst. Even my collapse is legally clean. 6 months later, job market for senior HR is a graveyard with webinars, every LinkedIn post, talking about macro headwinds like economy is evil, weather system, HR summits, talking about proving ROI, which really means justify why anyone should keep paying. Use savings, shrink pride, shrinks. I start applying to roles. Old me would have considered beneath my narrative. Interviews happen. No offers warm, rejections everywhere. Then recruiter messages me about head of people role at the competitor. Yes, that competitor. My first response is anger. Second response is rent reality. Wins by round 2. I ask if they know. I came from rival company. Recruiter says that's actually a plus industry knowledge, competitor, insight, scaling, experience, all the buzzwords they use when they want you to swallow dignity. I agree to first call while telling myself it's informational, only. First Zoom with their CEO. O feels unnervingly calm, methodical, no. Startup fever, dream energy, says they need real people processes because they're scaling fast. Says they want structure, not performance, art. Second stage includes leadership panel, including their CRO, which means Adrian. I walk into their office and it is smaller than ours used to be, but sharper in every way that matters. He is already at table, looks up, recognizes me, immediately stands. No smug smile, no revenge theater, just calm professionalism and absurdly good posture. We shake hands again, like universe is testing, whether irony has a ceiling. He says it's nice to see me under different circumstances, neutral tone, nothing cruel in it. Panel starts questions about fairness, burnout, performance, accountability, scaling. I answer well, because HR language is still my mother tongue, but guilt keeps interrupting confidence like static. Then Adrian asks one question, simple, precise, devastating. How do you make sure your personal beliefs never override evidence when selecting talent? Room goes still, polished answer, loads, automatically in my head. Scorecards, diverse panels, structured rubrics, all the safe script, but my mouth won't perform anymore. I tell the truth. Instead say, my beliefs did override evidence. Say it cost the company deals, market share, layoffs. And my own role admit I rejected a clearly stronger candidate because I couldn't stomach another man leading sales. Admit I promoted a woman before she was ready. Because the symbolism felt too powerful to resist. Say I called it correcting bias. When really I was installing new bias and pretending it was justice. Say justice without competence turns into theater. And theater does not make payroll room, doesn't move much. COO nods slowly. Another exec writes notes. Adrian just studies me, quietly. Interview ends. They thank me. I leave shaky, but lighter. Next week I refresh inbox, like gambler refreshing odds after losing the house. Decision, email arrives, thanks me, praises honesty, says they chose another candidate with smaller company build, experience rejection. Somehow feels like karma and fairness. Shaking hands, then separate email appears. From Adrian's subject line says, off the record inside, he says he actually pushed for me seriously, because skill still deserves consideration. After mistake says, final call wasn't revenge. Says he wanted me to know that. Says my rejection of him hurt, because it made his competence feel invisible beside something he could not change. But also says, my confession in the interview showed more accountability than most leaders ever reach. I read it 3 times, feeling humiliation, gratitude, jealousy, relief, and general human garbage all at once. Part of me wants to reply sharply because he built a win out of my mistake. Another part recognizes that thought as envy dressed up in moral makeup. I write long paragraph, delete. It finally send one honest line. Thank you. I'm trying to do it right now. He never replies. Weirdly, that helps another 6 months pass, and I land at tiny bootstrap startup. 10 people, 1 room instant noodle. Smell founder is quiet, ex-developer, with zero interest in moral theater, title is people. Ops and operations. Salary lower, ego, bruise, stress. Somehow cleaner, first engineering candidate is a man. In his mid-30s with excellent CV and glowing references, old Reflex whispers about optics. New Reflex asks whether he can ship. I ask the founder if she cares about gender optics for first dev hire. She shrugs and says, if he can build and isn't an ass, she does not care. We hire him. He turns out respectful, mentors a woman, intern. Well, and nothing explodes. Nobody becomes a symbol. Work just gets done. Company grows to 25, diversity comes in, naturally through sane systems, instead of ritual sacrifice. I build boring things. Now, scorecards, panels, salary bands, transparent leveling, unsexy, and effective candidates ask about DEI. And I stop delivering TED Talk. Answers tell them, we treat individuals fairly, and they should call us out. If we don't, less glamorous, more terrifying, much more honest. One evening, I scroll LinkedIn and see my old company logo in a case study grayed out. Little footnote says, acquired in distressed sale, brand retired staff, redistributed most roles, eliminated chess titans. Because I used to think I ruled that place in some moral sense. Realize I didn't just lose a job. There I helped erase a company. I still believe systemic bias is real because I lived it in real rooms. Difference now is I don't use that truth as permission to be unfair. One of my junior HR assistants asks whether we should add quotas for leadership just to be safe. Old me would have said yes. Before she finished the sentence, new. Me tells her story instead, about head of people who treated hiring like battlefield, about woman promoted too early, about man rejected for symbolism, about competitor who simply executed better. She asks what we do. Instead, answer surprises even me. We build systems where nobody wins or loses because of what they are. People win or lose because of what they can actually do and prove. She says that sounds harder than slogans and workshops. I tell her, yes, reality doesn't accept good intentions as payment. Late train home, one night my phone buzzes with unknown number. Message says, heard you landed somewhere small. Good. Keep it honest. I stare at it and laugh quietly, because validation finally feels less important than it used to. Type still learning, delete it, type thanks, delete that too. Finally send, we're trying to do it, right this time. No reply after that. And for once the silence feels exactly correct.